we are coming together to, in a way, also transcend our status as a bystander into a status of an active contemporary witness, because we are, as a community, like many people online right now, we also become a resonance body. And in the collective trauma work, we are interested in healing the gap between what we can think and understand about the situation also, and how we experience the situation, to heal the gap between thinking and sensing into like a unified sense making, so that what I feel and what I can think and comprehend becomes one big flow, like one flow through me. And that can lead into action, that can lead into contributing, serving, giving, being part of. But it also that process might also reveal where actually it's hard for me to be a contemporary witness, especially when we are witnessing a very traumatizing event. And since we all carry, and especially if you're connected to the European history through our ancestry, we all carry parts of the Second World War, the Holocaust, the Cold War, like we carry, and other traumatic events. We carry that inside. So wherever we are hurt or traumatized, we can't fully represent a current event in ourselves. And what that does is either it splits my experience in two. And one part of it is that I get very stressed, that I get very overwhelmed, over-agitated, excited. Or I touch places in me where I'm numb, where I'm distant, where I'm dissociated, and I don't feel much. I become indifferent. And our calls, in a way, are ways how we take action to reveal the hyperactive part, the over-exaggerated response, and we become aware of the numbing part, which, especially now that the situation is going on already for over a month, it changed its character from being an acute shock to many people into us being every day aware of a strongly traumatizing experience, that millions of refugees coming into all the neighboring countries, and maybe some of us or many of us are also contributing to support refugees in our countries. So that's definitely an amazing service that we see, that many people are taking a lot of action to support, which is a unifying act as well. And we see a lot of that beauty and a lot of resources coming towards the situation. But it also might lead to a place that I'm actually becoming a bit tired of receiving a lot of trauma information every day, so that I step by step might retract and close myself off a bit. So I think our call today is also to reassess how I am staying in relation without drowning in the overwhelm, without drowning in the indifference, but still staying connected as a human being that has a sensing and a thinking and an acting available to make a difference, and make the difference that every one of us is able to make. And it's not only because some of us might get overwhelmed by the thought, okay, I need to do something big in order to make a meaningful contribution. I think every contribution is meaningful as long as it fits to our possibilities of influence. So it doesn't mean only great contributions are great. Every contribution is great, because whatever I can give adds to the collective responsiveness. And I think responsiveness, or collective responsiveness, is a very powerful quality in us as human beings. And it's not only what we give, it's also that we collectively engage makes a difference. It's not the actions themselves, it's the intention and the quality of response. And I often compare that responsiveness as like a immune reaction. That we are together the collective immune system. And the more people become, as William Ury says, the third side, we are the third side. We are embracing a conflict that not only happens between Ukraine and Russia, it's a conflict that happens for all of us. Like in the body, the immune system says, no, I'm not going there because it's my liver. It's different from me because I'm the immune system. But the immune system takes care of the entire body. So, and every person on the planet is part also of an immune system that can respond to especially violent conflicts that we have as a global community. And I think the technology that we have available right now that connects us is also the technology that makes it possible that billions of people can actually be part of that immune response. And I think that's a tremendous power. And if we are not ending up just in the fragmentation and in the reactivity, but in a true sensing, and that's what our calls are about, if we develop our true sensing and relationality to the situation, I think that's where we are at our best, through the actions, but also through awareness, that they are not two, but they are two sides of a coin. And so global social witnessing is a kind of an awareness-based system intervention, if you want to call it like that. It's an awareness-based process that allows me to get to know in a little bit of a slowed down version, because in trauma we always speed up, and it's good because we need to respond and save lives, but we also need to digest in order not to slowly burn out, but to stay fresh as we're responding. So we need also places like here where we can digest our experience. We can digest it in community, in healing communities, where we create a field together, like a social field, a social presence that supports every one of us to digest our experience. Because even if we can't see each other, later we will do a short contemplative practice, we can sense each other. And many people from many different places are dialing in right now into this call. And we can, through, first of all, individual reflection, but then also through the fact that we hold a space for people that are closer affected by the situation or closely affected to share, and we become the resonance body. And that gives me a chance to see how much can I stay in a felt relation to what I hear, to what's happening in the world, and when do I hit my pre-existing trauma. And given the fact that, especially, as I said before, in Europe, but also in other places, many of us have an ancestral history that our grandparents, our parents, our great-grandparents were part of the Second World War. So we carry blind spots inside. We are also part of the blind spot that can lead up to a war. And we can't just externalize that to the countries or to the leaders or to the places in power, because there's a long history that led up to the current situation. And I think for every one of us to get to know our blind spots and also our own participation, which might show up as all the difficult feelings and sensations, the stress that we feel, the fear, the anger, the grief, the absence, the numbness, all of that is part where how the collective shadow or the collective trauma speaks in us. for many people, for example, in the German-speaking world, especially Austria and Germany, our grandfathers might have been part of the war in Russia. And like that, we are intimately and closely related to the trauma that led up to the current situation. So whatever comes up in us today is not just an annoyance, it's actually an attempt of life to digest the unresolved past. That's also the work that we didn't do in the last 30, 40 years properly in order to discharge the energy that leads to a conflict. So we need to do it now. And we also need to stay in a place to be responsive and act and save life and see how, as fast as possible, we can stop the violence and come to a different form of negotiation, of course. That's the first priority that also, as William Ury also says, the third side comes in as protection, comes in, how can we stop the violence? How can we be of support to come back to a negotiation so that the traumatization stops and we come back to a different form of relation? Many of us that are also following often what's happening and what are the current developments might feel the toll that takes on ourselves and how it affects us. So maybe we can have together like a short kind of inward awareness-based journey to look closer. It will guide us to create a space for ourselves to digest first what we are going through as witnesses, as being exposed to news, being exposed to people that are affected, maybe being exposed and supporting refugees and how that affects us. So we will make a space to digest, because every psychological or inner experience, we need some space to reflect, a space to digest, and to integrate the experience into learning so that we are more effective in serving and responding.